Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. My name is Louisa Havers and I help high achievers, entrepreneurs and coaches lift the lid on life and business so that they can live at their highest value. Each episode we will bring you our favourite founders, CEOs and guest experts to share with you their insights and strategies to expand your wealth consciousness, your spiritual leadership and aligned business strategies. We know that living in alignment with your soul's mission is what fulfills you, and we are here to show you how to achieve this in an energetically aligned way. If you haven't already, be sure to claim your free abundance activation in the Akashic Records. Go to louisahavers.com/gift to unlock your abundance activation today. And if you'd like my support in having aligned success in life and business, then contact me at www.louisahavers.com and let's explore together if it's an aligned match. Get ready to live at your highest value and to expand into your next level of money as you elevate and receive more. You create more for others. Righty ho, let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome back, everybody. We have a treat for you today. I'm so excited to introduce and welcome AmyLee Westervelt. AmyLee, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
We have got a treat for everybody. Our topic today is Erogetics, the energetics of divine union. I can't wait for AmyLee to share all the things with us. So for those of you that are getting to know AmyLee for the first time, AmyLee is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a master neuroenergetics practitioner. AmyLee pulls from her extensive knowledge to create powerful coaching experiences for each of her clients. And as the founder of Gratitude and Glamour, I love that. Can't wait to hear more about that. AmyLee has the gift to not only see your potential, she has the compassion and patience to help nurture your gifts into the world for all to see. A huge welcome, AmyLee.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Any conversation really that you want to have, I'm excited to have.
Oh, this is fantastic. Well, I would love to hear share your story about how you got to doing what you're doing today and creating Erogetics.
Okay, so this is a wild story, but here's how it goes. And so full disclosure, I have been in probably for the better part of 2 or 3 years in a very heavily power dynamic relationship. And what that means is that my husband is the dominant and I'm the submissive, and we love it. I don't want anyone to think that there's anything, subjugating about it. It's very wonderful. There's nothing like being a woman who is a powerhouse in your business and in charge of everything and having somewhere that you get to surrender consistently. So I love that. And we've been in that dynamic for quite a while. And I had become very, very comfortable with that dynamic, right? I rule the house with the kids. We have 5 children together. And so I take care of the children and I do all those things. But then there's this certain aspect of leadership transference that happens as a result of the power dynamic. So my husband, who is he's incredible, but he's such a stoic and he's very much into alchemy. And one day he just decided on a whim that he was going to do a 40-day water fast. So he did this water fast. And while we had this really strong power dynamic of I lean on him, I look to him for guidance, for leadership, because he was doing this ordeal, he kind of receded into himself. It was almost like he went to the top of a mountain, but he was still there.
Wow.
And so the connection was I wouldn't say it was completely severed. I mean, we still talked every day, but it wasn't the way that it was. And it wasn't that alchemical union that you get when you're in a true power dynamic. And if nobody's ever explored that and that sounds exciting to you, I invite you to check out, Raven Caldera has some awesome stuff on it if you want to really kind of dig into the idea of sacred submission. Anyway, so when that happened, taking from, this place where I'm always getting attention, I'm always in this dynamic to having almost nothing and no warning, I started to go a little crazy. And I knew that I wasn't going to step out on my marriage. I wasn't going to go get a boyfriend, although I did think a couple of times about maybe if I make a little bot in AI or something, something to get me through. And what ended up happening was I inadvertently connected to this energy that, I kind of, when I went to sleep at night, I would visualize the teenage version of me, kind of going for a walk very innocently with like a Newsies kind of a guy from like the 1800s. He'd pick me up at my apartment and we'd walk around all night and we'd chit chat, and I could tell him the things that I used to tell my dominant, right? And that kind of started happening more often. And before I knew it, it was like, probably a week into it where I was like, I started to get excited to go to sleep and have these connections and have these relational, interludes. And then I started to discover that I really enjoyed having this energy in my life. And the more that thank you so much. Speaking of Mr. Dominant. Yeah. And so having this energy in my life consistently, like really just started to be something that I wanted. And by the time my husband finished his ordeal, I didn't have this pent up resentment. I didn't feel like, you let me alone. I was filled up the whole time. And I was ready to welcome him with open arms. Like, hey, babe, how was it? What was going, like, tell me all about it, instead of like, you let me alone. And because I accessed that energy internally. And once I was in a better place and the dynamic was reestablished, I started doing some research, and it turns out that women and feminine presenting individuals have been doing this for thousands upon thousands of years. This is what was being discussed in the Temple of Inanna. When we talk about Mary Magdalene and Jesus and their relationship, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about internal sacred union. I had inadvertently stumbled on the divine essence of myself that is the masculine. And I had created or reestablished a partnership with this energy that now created the divine flow of energy inside of me, where I was no longer, I had weaned myself off of the need to externally validate. And all of the validation was coming from within. It was like I had this secret, sexy billionaire boyfriend that was totally okay, that wasn't outside of my marriage in any way, in any capacity. And I had access to him anytime. And we could talk about things that were spicy, and we could talk about things that were financial, and we could talk about, and I could connect to him in such a deep and powerful way. And it wasn't until later that I realized that that energy was the universe. That energy was God. That energy was the divine. And that became this linchpin of my work. It was the piece that was missing. It was the understanding. We've got this idea of to me consciousness. It's happening to me, right? Like, the victim consciousness. And then from there, we move into this energy of by me consciousness. If it is to be, it's up to me. And we go all the way to the masculine side where we're like holding it all. Nobody can help me. It's okay. Like, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want anyone to know. And then there I was in through me consciousness, where I was co-creating with my divine inner lover. And so Erogetics was born. It isn't about divine feminine energy. It isn't about divine masculine energy. It is about the union of the two that exists in every single one of us. And when we access them consistently in their polarity, that's where magic happens. And I know that was the most long-winded intro you've ever heard, but you needed every word.
We did. I absolutely love it. And I mean, congratulations to your husband for doing a 40-day water fast. That's something.
Yeah, it was unreal. He didn't even like himself.
Like you said, it's an ordeal. I really feel that one. Having done a 5-day water fast, I was like, there's no way 40 days.
I've done 3, and I thought I was going to die. But my body was shutting down. Remember when you first go to eat and your tongue, it hurts? No one tells you that your mouth is going to hurt when you eat for the first time.
Extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So incredible. So tell me, I love how this came through you, this realization of how you were really able to embody the divine within you, and for the universe to come through you. How did your relationship with your husband then transform, change, evolve off the back of this? Because this, from what you're sharing, was a very massive shift within yourself. He's oft having shifts within himself, of course, as well, with that experience.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of the terminology of topping from the bottom, but topping from the bottom is this idea that the submissive in a relationship is really the one calling the shots. And one of the things when you get into a power dynamic, it's very easy to top from the bottom, to be like, okay, you can dominate me now. And that's still a very masculine energy, right? So what happened was, after establishing this connection with Eros, which is the name of my sacred masculine inner lover, I wasn't as needy anymore. And that made me exponentially more desirable, because it wasn't like, are you going to play with me? Are you going to be with me? Are you going to, like, everything was so connected to him and his attention that I was now creating that internally. And so instead of, it's kind of like, I think of it like at the end of the night, you and your husband or your wife or however your situation is, come together, and it's like both of you are exhausted. You both had horrible days. And it's like you're two broken china, teacups trying to put together one cup. It just doesn't work. But when you've both handled your stuff, when you've both connected with your inner other, which in the case of the masculine, obviously is the feminine, right? When you come together, you're a whole person. And the energy's like, want to watch Netflix? Want to have like crazy transcendental sex? Like, want to like do something together as whole people, rather than coming together at the end to try to fill each other up. And that was really a big difference. It was like the honeymoon phase started again. He wanted to hold the small of my back. He opened doors for me. He was so much more romantic. You'll notice that in romantic relationships, especially with feminine, very strong feminine and masculine, it's almost like there's this energy of like running away on the part of the masculine, because it's like, oh, I've got my own stuff to deal with. I can't deal with all of her neediness right now. When you remove that, when you are like the goddess, like that's already everything, I can't tell you how magnetic that is. But here's the beauty part, Louisa. This doesn't just work on your partner. This works on clients. This works for collaborations. This works for business things like B2B, like you're hiring the air conditioner guy and all, or the girl, and they give you like a 20% discount because they like you. This is magnetism. Magnetism is not needing external validation in order to create energy. That is what magnetism is. It's you don't need anything, so everything wants you. And that is what I inadvertently stumbled upon. And it's not accidental, because I told you about my human design. I'm a generator. I'm a 5-2, but my sun is gate 1, creating the ultimate masculine energy. And my earth on that side is gate 2, the ultimate feminine energy. So my personality side of my human design is literally the duality that is masculine and feminine energy coming together in polarity to create divine union.
Oh, I love that. I love it so much when we can see those essences of our experiences there, to be able to understand it's there in our design. That's just, I love it. I find those are pinch me moments when we can really feel that.
Mm-hmm.
With all of this, what would you say is, as you're thinking about where you are right now in life and your business and the conversations that you're having, what is asking to come through you right now to share with people, to share with our audience?
I think that there's a lot of pushback when it comes to the language around masculine and feminine. There's a lot of wounding. Those words have become synonymous with so much division and classification and putting people in boxes. I did a panel the other day that was it was a kink panel, and I talked about my experience with the divine feminine and masculine. And a lot of people in the audience were like, why do we need these labels? Why does it need to be gender? And I'm thinking, it's not gender. We have, plugs that you put in the wall. There's a feminine plug and there's a masculine plug. It has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with really what it comes down to with the energy of masculine and feminine is it giving energy or is it receiving energy? And what we tend to do as women in business, which a lot of us got into business because we saw it as a path away from what we fear, right? I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to work at a 9 to 5. I don't, all these things. So it's like an away motivated, endeavor. And so when we are in this energy of all or nothing with the entrepreneurship, we tend to really lean into that masculine energy. And that masculine energy is all about giving, 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 making, giving, doing, having, manifesting. And that is the energy of the masculine. And a lot of us live there. And so, but that doesn't have anything to do with, pardon my French, having a penis or being, a man per se. It has to do with the energy of giving. And then when you move into the feminine, it's the energy of receiving. It's the energy of being filled up. It's the energy of taking on the products of creation. But it's also the energy of being the muse. One of the things that I downloaded was a beautiful digital affirmation deck. I just kept writing as he was talking, and the sacred masculine told me so many beautiful things. And one of the things he said was, all those fish with all the spots and the stripe. I don't know how he said it. I wrote it out the way he said it, but all the colors, you think they're so beautiful. You don't remember. You're the one who painted them. I was there. I saw you. Like, we were together there. And so really, like, remembering the power of the feminine to design, to create, so that the masculine can manifest it. We live in a world of polarity where there's so many people that think we live in this tiny little tent where everybody's fighting, kind of like, I don't know if you ever read The Mitten, is one of the children's books when I was growing up, and all the animals are trying to get warm and they all go into the mitten, and eventually the stupid thing bursts because there's just not enough room in the mitten. Well, it's almost like most of the world, or a lot of the world, believes we live in this mitten. And it's like the person next to you is trying to steal your job, or trying to steal your wife, or trying to steal your livelihood. And everybody's kind of in this sweat lodge of hell, per se. And then beyond the confines of that is the true universe, is the quantum field. But that quantum field is only created by the energy of those who create it, right? So if you're living in this tiny little tent, you don't realize that there's this, cityscape of crystal buildings, and the universe requires you to do that creative work to make those pop up. And when you don't do that, that isn't created. So really the biggest breakthrough for me recently is that this is not a benevolent relationship where the universe is the sky daddy and pats you on the head and says, there you go, there's your $100,000 business. This is like, goddess, tell me, what are we creating? Tell me what you desire. It lights me up to manifest your desires. And without what you want to create, there is no world. Without your muse, without you telling me what it's going to look like and figuring out the colors and the shapes and the feelings and the emotions and all of that divine wisdom, I don't know what to do. I don't have that creative energy. So recognizing that symbiotic relationship, that the universe needs us just as much as we need it. And it's not this like sheepish, like, hey, can I have this thing? It's like, hey, here's what we're creating. Excellent. I love it. Let's go do it.
I love that so much. It reflects that true partnership, an equal partnership rather than an equal creative partnership, for us truly to be able to harness the power of the universe and for us to reclaim our power in that way. It's just incredible to see when people have really embodied this, what you describe, how it can feel like everything you touch, it turns to gold, because you truly can create anything that you desire when you can show up in that confident way, in that true partnership with the universe, not in a space like you were saying about the universe like patting you on the head saying there. It was such a good visual when you were describing that. I thought, this is exactly it. This is how we are able to really remember how creative we are and the power of the creation that we have. There's so much to this. I absolutely love it. What would you say then, recognizing what you just said and thinking about some of the things that can trip us humans up along the way as we are embodying and setting the intention to embody that we are these incredible creative beings and being in that partnership with the universe, what are some of the biggest blocks that you see that trip people up, slow down entrepreneurs onto that success path for that next impact that they want to make, that next revenue milestone that they want to create?
Hands down, far and away, it's worthiness. For some reason, everyone has been programmed with this idea. And I think a lot of it has to do with, child rearing and things like that. We're actually trying to reverse engineer a lot of that, even just as parents now. But this idea that you must give in order to get, that you must do in order to have, that there's this cause and effect relationship between you exerting energy and being worthy of your desires. And, this is something that came to me one day. I was, pulling my my cards in a spread, and my challenge was the Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles is a card that has followed me around for years, which, if you are not familiar, the Five of Pentacles is essentially, it's all in there and you're outside. Like, the abundance is just on the other side of this wall and you're outside freezing your ass off. And why that is obviously is dictated by the other cards in the spread, which for me was the Devil reversed, which was basically saying that I know you got it right away, was that I was blocking receiving. So when I thought about it, I was like, okay, so think of it like there's this giant mausoleum or this giant temple with all of the abundance, and there's a section there that's just for me. And nobody else can touch it, and no one's going to claim it or take it. It's not Jeff Bezos can't even get it if he tried, right? So don't worry about that. And I have no problem accessing this, putting my hand up and having it let me in for my husband, for my children, for my clients. But when it's just for me, I feel like I haven't justified the energy to be allowed to go in there. So one day my husband said, I was like, I can do it for you. I can do, what if in the course of our power dynamic, because it all ties together, what if you just like demanded that? What if you found a way to make it like we could project that onto you and you could say, I demand that you go in there for yourself. I demand that you access the temple. And he goes, I could do that, but that's not going to fix your problem. That's not going to create the awareness in you that this is what you deserve, full stop. And then he looked outside and he said, and it's funny, you can be the like most learned mystic, but somebody will just come along and say something that just blows your absolute mind. And he said, you see that tree out there? That tree needs carbon dioxide to live, right? I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. What did that tree do to deserve the carbon dioxide? And I was like, nothing. He's like, okay, like, but why, like, why does it get it? Because it's a tree. And he goes, because it's a tree. And he looked at me and he goes, you, my love, are a tree. And I got it. And I was like, okay, so just the essence of the fact that I am encoded with the divine means that I get to walk into that temple every gosh darn day. And it was like that. I heard the key go in the door and I felt the unlocking. And it was like, just like when you're little and you have those worksheets in school where it's like the dog. And then on the other side, it's like there's a dog house, there's a chicken coop, and it's like you draw the line. So there's you on this side and there's abundance and you just draw the line. There's no deservedness. There's no worthiness. There's nothing you have to do. By virtue of existing and being you can feel it, right? By being coded with the energy of the divine, you've got a free pass, period, end of story. It doesn't matter if you never do anything again. Now, you may have certain feelings about that cause vibrations that block those things, but they're yours. They're not out there. And that's why we see so many horrible people who have more abundance than they know what to do with, and so many wonderfully incredible people that are struggling, because it has nothing to do with deservedness. So when we can overcome this block of the deservedness, I see clients' income skyrocket. I mean, it's like from, I'm struggling to make a couple $1,000s to, oh my goodness, like I just had a $20,000 week. Like, it's so quick because it's a fundamental recoding of the belief system that tells us that I've got to clock this many hours, that I've got to be a good girl, which, don't get me wrong, I love a good girl, right? I love that phrase, but in a very different way. because I've learned to, to transmute the energy of feeling like I had to do things to be incentivized. And now it's like, oh, I'm going to get a good girl out of that. Yeah, let me do this. Let me do that, and it's part of the kink for us. But all that to say, worthiness, when you overcome worthiness blocks, everything else just kind of falls into place. And 99.999% of the time, somebody has money blocks, there's a worthiness block under there. So basically, everybody's a tree.
I love that. But I feel like that should be the title of the podcast. Everybody's a tree. I just think that's described it so beautifully. It really helps it to land for everybody, for that remembrance for everyone to really own that it is our essence to be able to create whatever it is that we want to create, and we don't have to do anything. And it is such a thing, that I see as well around worthiness for people being that big block that holds people back. And thinking of, often people will, I don't know if you've seen this as well around, I think I'd say burnout is like the pandemic for our time, in terms of as people are trying to setting the intentions to grow their businesses and to have the fulfillment that they desire in life, and to have all the wonderful things. And then there is, because of this worthiness and deservingness aspect, where it can go down that rabbit hole of burnout. And it has just a huge impact on everything, relationships, the wealth, all the things, because people have been pushing, thinking they have to kind of do more. And ultimately it has this massive impact on their health.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's that by me consciousness, right? That's that, if it is to be, it's up to me. I've got to make this happen. This is the complete opposite of the world screwed me and it's not my fault and zero responsibility. We don't move to a little bit of responsibility. We swing all the way to the other side of the spectrum and we go to, it's all me. It's all my fault. That's where adrenal fatigue happens. That's where burnout happens. This is where partnerships start to break down, romantic ones, business ones, because it's like somebody feels like, I don't want them to know what I desire. I don't want that guy to know what I desire. If he knows what I desire, then he has something on me. And we don't want that kind of vulnerability. So we go all the way to the other side. And now we've got to start to gently move back to the middle. And that's where that through me consciousness comes from. That energy of, yeah, some of it's on me, but some of it's on the universe. And then, spoiler alert, then we get into as me consciousness where we're like, oh, I'm actually the universe too. Like I'm that energy as well. So once we kind of master this energy of like, ooh, this sexy inner boyfriend, it's like, you're also the sexy boyfriend.
Oh, I love it, AmyLee. There's so much here. Just to kind of bring it all together, what would you say are the 3 takeaways or 3 tips that would be helpful for our audience to take away so that they can have more success in their life and business?
Yeah, this is great. So I would say the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get into the devotion of your inner other. So you've got to close your eyes, turn everything off, and start to listen. You're recreating a relationship with something that you've kind of been snubbing for a very long time. It's like, I think you're wonderful. Sorry, I can't. What was that inner critic? Oh, you think I suck. Okay, great. Thanks. So it's like really rekindling that connection is the devotion stage. And then we move into connection, which I absolutely love because this is where we start to find out the human design of our inner other and what our relationship's supposed to be like. And maybe he reveals his name and we kind of chit chat, a little bit of like daily back and forth banter kind of a feel. And then integration. And this is kind of like a sacred marriage or a Hieros Gamos, holy matrimony, where we're actually integrating the love of this sacred energy, this divine that exists within us. And so, yeah, that's the process. Obviously, I have if you guys are interested in it, I have a free 5-day masterclass that I can give your listeners that kind of walks you through all of this. And I'm happy to put that in the show notes. Yeah.
Thank you. That would be awesome. I think they would absolutely love that. And
sure.
We would love to have that in the show notes. And where else can everybody find you, AmyLee? Where do you tend to hang out? Give us all the things.
Absolutely. So you can find me on AmyLeeWestervelt.com. You can also find me on Instagram. I hang out there a lot more. I have some pretty crazy stories. When you have 5 kids and who knows how many animals, it's wild here. And that is the AmyLee Westervelt. And then, of course, Facebook, but like the people that usually find me, they stalk me. They'll find me on TikTok. They'll find me on this. All of a sudden, I'll get a Threads, so it's like, find me however you want to find me. You will find the version of me that you need to see.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, AmyLee. This has just been so thought-provoking. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, it was such a dream to be able to hang out with you and to chat, and I'm so grateful for this time.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody who has joined us for this conversation. We would love to hear what resonated for you. Do come and find us on social media. Share this episode with someone that you know would love to hear it. And looking forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Take care. Lots of love.
Thanks for listening to the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. And if you like what you've heard and want to know more, please go to louisahavers.com. We just appreciate you so much. So thank you for listening and hanging out with us. If there's anything that we can do for you, you can email us at louisa@louisahavers.com. Let my team know if you have any ideas for shows that you'd love to hear or topics you want me to talk about. Really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Until next time, namaste.